Welcome back to another review by Mega Train Lover, and this is also the first review of 2020. Today we are having a look at another locomotive, which is by Hornby, as you can see. This is actually what I got for Christmas, and I've been very busy in January, so and also the beginning of this month, so this is the only reason why I've come round to reviewing this, but hey ho, better late than never. As you can see, we are having a look at a model which is a railway museum model, well, which is basically the National Railway Museum, but they seem to have rebranded themselves as the Railway Museum. And what's also special about this model is it has got digital TTS sound. Now you've probably figured out what model this is, but this is a Southern Railway Lord Nelson class engine, number 30850, Lord Nelson itself. As you can see, it's in the British Railways Brunswick green with the late crest. So this is in the post-1956 livery. If we turn to the back, you can see there's quite a bit of information about the class and also this particular engine, but then there's also very, very detailed explanation about the TTS Sound, which of course has been in the range for about 5 years now, or just over 5 years. But this is actually my third loco with TTS Sound and my fourth overall with sound. The only one which is my class 60, that particular one is digital sound, because that was released before TTS Sound came along. So, anyway, a bit of information about the Lord Nelson class. They're officially classified as Class LN, which basically is Lord Nelson. Well, that's what it stands for at least, because of course the Southern Railways tradition was always to letter their engines. So this is a Lord Nelson class. There were 16 of these built between 1927 and 1929, I believe. Yep, it was. So I really should have researched it. Anyway, so there were 16 of these built, and they were designed by Richard Maunsell, who was the chief mechanical engineer of the Southern Railway at the time. They were built to handle the heavy boat train services, so these hauled trains to Dover, for example, also to Southampton, because obviously back then there was air travel was very, very much in its infancy, so the majority of overseas travel was done by boat. Well, in fact, all. Well, I'd say all, but of course airlines were around. They just weren't weren't as heavily utilised as they are today. So the 16, they all remained in service. They all passed into British Rail, and they were all withdrawn in the early 1960s. And the only surviving example is this one, which is number 30850, or Southern Railway number was 850, Lord Nelson, which was actually the prototype member of the class. This engine was preserved directly from BR and was immediately made part of the National Collection. She was quickly restored, and throughout the 1970s and 80s she was seen regularly on mainline steam rail tours, and even in the 1990s and the 2000s she was a regular performer on the main line. She was withdrawn from mainline duties in 2007, and she was relegated to Heritage Railways, and she's currently at the Midhants Railway, and at the time of filming this review she is undergoing an overhaul at the Midhants, and her overhaul is due to be completed I think either this year or next year, but definitely very, very shortly. Now, as you can see, it does look similar to a King Arthur, but in fact it's very, very different. The King Arthurs are of course only 2-cylinder engines. This one has 4 cylinders, and this one is much, much, much more powerful than a King Arthur. I believe these did suffer from slight reliability issues to begin with, mainly to do with the drafting, but these were remedied, and then they were These were remedied, and then they proved themselves to be very, very exceptionally reliably very exceptional performing runners. But yeah, sorry, can't really talk today. Anyway, I forgot to turn to the side. So the product code for this is R3603 TTS, and it's BR late Lord Nelson class. Now, the locomotive is not actually in the box. The locomotive is right here. So I'm just putting the box to one side. Here is the engine, and the tender is just here. Now, this does have the usual connection with the wire and the screw bar here, but of course, for the purposes of this review, I've managed to basically separate these, because this is quite a large engine. I mean, this one, the engine itself is pretty big, but look at the size of the tender. So to hold these two together would be quite a nightmare, because they are huge. But let's have a look at the engine first, and oh my gosh. Wow. Right, where do I start? Okay, so this is of course a new tooling. It was only released last year. Basically to sort of fill a gap in the market, because Bachmann used to make the Lord Nelson class, then they stopped making, because they didn't improve it, so they stopped making it, and then Hornby have filled that market. But wow, and wow, what can I say? First, what I would like to add, these two root discs, I've added these myself just to add a bit more realism, but honestly, I have no words. It's such a beautiful engine. So let's start at the front. So you get sprung buffers, which is very, very nice. The cylinder cocks here, I fitted myself as well on both sides, as you can see. There's the front. It's got a very, very characteristic look of a Maunsell designed engine. And there's its number 30850. And then the shed code 71A, which I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but if you do know, comment below. But obviously that front has been captured so nicely. So you've got this. So you've got separately fitted lamp irons, 3 on the buffer beam, 1 at the top of the smoke box door, and of course, as Southern Railway engines had, they had 1 either side of the smoke box door. But they're all separately fitted, which is just amazing. What I also like is the clamps which keep the smoke box door shut. Those seem to be separately fitted as well. Even if they're not, they are highly convincing. Wow. Let's have a look. Wow. So honestly, I can barely find any moulded detail here. It's all separately fitted, and it's all lovely. There it says Lord Nelson, the name, 30850. Just look at those wheels. Just massive driving wheels these had. You can tell this is an express engine. The S15s, of course, they look fairly similar, and they had smaller driving wheels because they were primarily goods engines. But wow, this is amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. All the separately fitted parts here with the lubricators. And just look at that chimney. I've never seen a chimney that big. Is there any blast pipe detail? No, not that I can see. But then again, that would be pushing beyond the limits. If it did actually have a blast pipe in there, that would be so cool. But then again, no one really looks at the model like that, do they? So, but no, it is very, very nicely captured. What I also love is the livery, how the red, black, red lining has been captured so nicely, and as the shade of the Brunswick green is really, really nice as well. So here's the other side. You've got the speedo connection here, which of course is the speedometer. You've got, I think this would be used as a battery box nowadays, but I think this is a toolbox. Of course, when it was on the main line, when it had to be fitted with all the AWS and the TPWS and all, basically all the gizmos which it requires to run on the main line. This would be a battery box. But in Steam days it was a toolbox. There's the whistle and the safety valves. So yeah. I do have one slight criticism in that this is a 4-cylinder engine. So obviously it has cylinder. So obviously, you know, you would see the internal workings on this model. There's no internal detail at all. You just have a screw and pretty much a blank space, which is slightly disappointing, but nevertheless, I think the detail on the rest of the model kind of makes up for that, because it is just stunning, absolutely stunning. Now the detail doesn't end there. Let's go to the cab, which, as you can see, just blows you away the minute you see it. Let's bring it into light. So you can clearly see the regulator handle in the middle, and then the reverser on the left, the firebox doors, and then all the gauges and all the sort of knobs as well, such as the injectors and stuff, all perfectly modelled. I can even see the brake just to the left here, all the lubricators as well. It's just all around a lovely cab. That is so nicely detailed. And also what looks like, I think these are I think those could be I think those are dampers, those red levers just down there, but they kind of, you know what, but to be honest, they kind of look like point switches. I know they aren't, because, well, what's the point of having a point switch on a locomotive? But no, those do look like dampers, and I think they could be cylinder cocks as well. One of the levers is probably to control the cylinder cocks. You got the full plate here, which does function, and obviously when it's coupled to the tender you can put it down. So yeah, and it's quite heavy. It's not massively heavy, but it's not too light. I'd say it can pull the necessary amount of coaches. Basically, these were designed to pull 12, 14 coach trains. I think this can manage easily. But so that's all of the engine, which is just fantastic. Now let's have a look at the tender, which is quite light, but I can feel that there are weights in there, so this wouldn't just fly off the track. Straight away you're blown away by the size of the tender. Now of course the Southern Railway never had any water troughs, so all of its engines needed to carry tenders with enormous gallons of water. So I think this here is a 5,000 gallon tender. But basically the point being, all Southern engines had big tenders to compensate for the lack of water troughs, which was unnecessary, because a lot of the places where the engines went to, they were in fairly close proximity to each other, so the Southern Railway didn't really run any long distance. Well, they did run long distance services, but their distances, they were not as great as, say, for example, from London to Edinburgh, or London Glasgow, or Paddington to Penzance. But yeah, let's have a look at the tender. So you got the vacuum tanks at the back, which of course is for the brakes. You've got 2 water filler caps. You've got the coal, which is removable, and so you can remove this and then put your own coal in there if you wish. You've got the handbrake at the front. You've got the doors, which they don't move, and I wouldn't recommend you move them because they are quite fragile. One thing I must mention, you do have to be careful with this engine because the detail is very fragile. So well detailed that it is quite. You do have to be very delicate with it. There's lovely axle box detail on the tender bogies. So you've got the actual axle boxes themselves, and also the leaf springs, which are modelled beautifully. You got sprung buffers on the back. You also got brake pipe, lamp irons on the back as well. The other side is the same as the side which we've just looked at. You've got the British Railways late crest on there, which is printed superbly. Just look at that. That is brilliant. So yeah, all in all, I am very, very impressed with this model, and the fact that it's got sound as well is very, very nice. However, we've only seen the detail. Now we're going to see, I'm going to reassemble this off camera and then see how she performs. So here we have the Hornby Lord Nelson on the track. Now, as this is a TTS Sound model, I'm going to be demonstrating the sounds. So I've got the sheet here. So as you can see, Lord Nelson class. So let's start off by doing function and 1, which turns the sound on. So this is the basically sort of the running. It will be the running sounds as well. Now there's 4 different buttons for the whistles. So function 2 is the long whistle. Function 3 is 2 short bursts of the whistle. Function 4 is just 1 short burst. Function 5 is a whistle long and fancy. So we'll see how this sounds like. Yep, that sounded pretty fancy. So, now we come on to the other sounds. So, function 6 is the wheel slip. Yep, definitely sounded like a wheel slip. Function 7 is the coal shoveling. Now, unlike the previous sounds, this one plays until you basically stop it again. So it's on a loop, basically. So function 7. Of course, a very, very iconic sound in steam locomotives. Function 8 is the blowdown, which is when she gets back into the shed, and at the end of the day, to basically release all the stuff from the boiler, they do a blowdown, which sounds like this. Just to add more imagination, just imagine a huge cloud of steam coming out from the side of the engine. Function 9 is the safety valve. Function 10 is the injector. Is the cylinder cocks. 12 is the brake. Thirteen is the blower. The blower, for those who don't know, is basically a device at the front of the engine which draws the fire forward. When the engine is in motion and the regulator is open, then the blower is not required, because the regulator does the work of the blower. But if the engine is stationary or is running with the regulator shut, then the blower needs to come on, otherwise there'd be what's known as a blowback when the fire goes back into the cab. Well, it'll basically, the fire will just sort of shoot back into the cab, which will be very, very uncomfortable for the crew. Anyway, number 14 is the guard whistle. That sounded more like crickets, but oh well. Number 15 is the coupler clank. And number 16 is fireman's breakfast. Just sizzling eggs and bacon. Now, there's also function 17, which is toggling sound mode between chuffing and coasting. So when you press that, when it's moving, rather than do chuffing noises, it will just switch to a coasting noise as if the regulator's closed. Function 18 is for the auxiliary lighting, if they're fitted, but then obviously there are no lights fitted on this engine. Number 19 is whistle short burst B. So we've got more whistle functions here. So let's try number 19. Number 20. Number 21 is a tunnel whistle. Number 22 is the last one, is whistle two short bursts. So yeah, those are all the sounds. Now for the moment which we've been waiting for, is the actual running of the engine. So let's release the brakes, open the regulator and watch her go. Wow. Wow. Honestly, I'm just speechless. It sounds really... Oh, sugar. Cut. Sorry. Yes, accidents do happen, sorry. At least it happened at low speed. Alright. My fault, sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, she not only runs well, but sounds very, very nice as well. The actual chuffing noise, it does sound fairly similar to the P2, but which is my only other steam locomotive with TTS Sound. But to be honest, there is a subtle difference. Although to be fair, it is still very, very nice. zoom in on her. Yep. But yeah, she's running very, very nicely. So just to conclude this video, definitely recommend her, especially if you can get it in sound variant and also the preserved example, which is Lord Nelson. Definitely high recommendation from me. Anyway, thanks very much for watching and see you in the next video. Goodbye.